Are we starting right now?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm Cody Weber, and I'm from Ogden, Utah.
What do most people know you by?
OG Coda. This is my first Panhead. It's a 1948 kind of crazy story on how I got it. So AJ Anderson and I built a bike together for People's Champ, and we were headed down to Born Free from Utah, and we got all loaded up, and we were going through Beaver, Utah, and AJ's van broke down, and we ended up stranded in Beaver. And while we were waiting to figure out what we were doing with his van, this old timer dude was like ripping up and down the street on this Softail that he had made it look like an old Panhead or something. It was cool. It looked really good. And I just kept watching him go past, and I was like, dude, this guy's cool. I gotta talk to this guy. So I walked out into the street and flagged him down. And he comes over, and we get talking, and he ends up coming looking at the bike, and he's like, oh man, that's a pan shovel. I got this and it's got that. And I'm like, oh yeah, you know your stuff. He's like, oh yeah, I have an old bike. And I was like, what is it? And he's like, 48 Panhead. And I was just joking around, being an idiot. And I was like, you want to sell it? And he was just like, I actually need to sell it. He's like, I'm out in Massachusetts, and my mom lives in Vegas. We're on a road trip right now, going to go see her. And he's like, I need to move all my stuff down here. So I need to get rid of a bunch of stuff. And I was like, shit, all right, let me get your number or whatever. And he gave me his card. And we went out to Born Free, which is a whole other crazy story. But we ended up getting back and putting on the Junction City show. And then I found the dude's card, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna call this dude. And so I call him, and I'm like, hey, this is Cody. We met in Beaver. Do you still want to sell that Panhead? And he's like, yeah. And I asked him what he wanted for it, and he was like, I'd probably have to have $6 grand for it. And I was just like, what? I'm like, wait, are we talking just a motor or what? Just the engine? And he's like, no, I just had the engine rebuilt and the transmission. It's a full running bike. He's like, I started it up and didn't even break it in yet because the float bowl was leaking. And I was just like, yeah, dude, I'm interested. And he's like, all right. And so I call him back a week later. And he's like, well, I talked to my wife, and turns out I can't really sell it for as cheap as I said. And I was like, all right, well, what are we talking? And he's like, I have to have $6,500. I was just like, yeah, I'm still in, dude. Let's do this. So of course he sends me the most old man shitty picture with his finger covering half the lens, and I was just like, I don't even care. Just let's do it. So John from EasyCo, he was 2 hours from this dude's house, so he went and picked up the bike for me and then had it shipped out for me. But I never even saw the bike really before I got it. And it was in a stock form when I got it. A lot of aftermarket parts, or else I would have just kept it the way it was if it was all original. But yeah, I got it and decided that I wanted to build a chopper out of it just because the state it was in, and blew it all apart, sandblasted all the molding that was on the frame, and it was pretty gnarly underneath there, just a bunch of crazy brazed welding, and it was a big mess.
You got the 70s special, huh?
Yeah, definitely some meth going on. But yeah, blew it all apart, redid the neck, fixed a couple things on the frame. Yeah, this front end is rad. I actually have had this for, man, 8 or 9 years, just laying around, waiting for its time to shine. It's a 41 millimeter, 14 over, with extended Barney style tubes. And then it's got a raked set of narrow AEE trees on it. Yeah, Kind of a stupid front end, honestly. It's probably gonna handle like shit. So the frame was black and it was molded. The dude that I got the bike from, he got it and it was a chopper, and then he put it back to stock, but the frame was still molded. It was just like rattle can black, primer tanks and fenders, stock 49, I believe, like first year wide glide front end on it. And yeah, I basically funded most of this from selling all the stock parts off of that bike. So it turned out pretty cool. I used the rear star hub and laced it to an 18-inch hoop. And then I did have a Springer on this that's on that bike now that I used the front star hub and laced it to a 21. But now it's just got the spool hub.
Do you know about the terminals on that motor?
It's an 80-inch stroker, and the dude who had it before me sent the heads to, I think, V-Twin. I guess they used to do, like, you could send your stuff to them and rebuild it. And he had the heads drilled for outside oiling, and they're original 48 heads. And yeah, it's running the stock Linker M74B, and it's also running this Skull pushrod cover, just one.
How much power did you get from that?
Negative 15 horsepower. But yeah, stock points distributor. Yeah, I just tried to keep it like not too flashy.
How about the paint?
The paint's pretty cool. It was actually, I was gonna go a different route with this bike originally. There's an old David Mann photo that I've always really liked, and this bike in the photo has like a very similar paint job to this. And it was like right up my alley for like style wise, you know, it wasn't too flashy, just kind of classy, simple. But yeah, I stole that from a David Mann photo.
The funny thing was I didn't see you in a couple of years, and when I moved up here, our bikes have very similar paint now.
Yeah.
You know, they're pretty close.
Because you rip off everything I do.
Damn right, dude. You know, just follow OG Coda stories all day.
Right now, I am building a shovel head with my buddy Max. The fire shovel. I'll send you a clip for that.
Yeah. Yeah, tell us about that shovel head.
Yeah, so I have a buddy out here that's like into stock shovel heads. And I was helping him get his bike back on the road, kind of like a restoration type deal. And he didn't listen to me. I told him like 5 times he needed a new carburetor because his stock carburetor was just garbage. And anyways, I finished the bike, got it done, was getting ready to ride it to his house to drop it off. And it was idling out in the, I started it in here, and then I pushed it outside the door, and it was idling, and I sat down on it to take off, and it backfired and caught the bike on fire instantly. Just went up in flames. Like it must have just blew the fuel line off or something, because like I was engulfed in flames, and then I'm like running around trying to get the fire put out. All the fire extinguishers that said they were good in the shop were not good. I tried to throw a big blanket over it. It went out for a second and then started up again. And at that point, there's nothing I could do, so I just sat back and watched it burn.
So what was usable off that bike?
So from that bike, it's kind of a long story. My buddy Max was looking to build a shovel head. I felt bad because I burnt this dude's bike down. So I contacted my buddy and I was like, hey, do you still want to build a chopper? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, all right, well, give me this amount of money and I'm gonna give it to this dude who owned the bike that caught on fire, so he's not out. And then I decided that I was just gonna build my buddy Max this chopper out of what was left from the burnt bike. The motor was still good, transmission was still good, frame was still good. We used a couple things. I went through everything, checked it out. It's fine. Most of it was just like damage to like the tins, and the dash was pretty crazy. It like melted the dash. It was like dripping down the side of the bike.
All the cast pieces just disintegrated, except the heads. You got lucky with that one, huh?
Yep. So that was. It's been fun. I've been dipping into my parts stash. I've had a bunch of buddies helping out on this thing, donating parts, and it's been super cool.
So you got that, and then what do you got? The CB2?
Yeah, I'm working on this CB750. I built a shovel head chopper for my buddy Alex, and as a thank you, he bought me this like Survivor CB750. So I'm probably gonna build a trike out of that, and yeah, we'll have fun with it.
How many bikes do you think you pumped out of the shop? A couple dozen?
Yeah, I mean, personally, like, built probably like 4, 5, 6, something like that, but like helping people build their bikes and stuff like that, definitely a few. Mostly this year I wanted to focus on just getting everything in the shop running and just doing local rides. Like, we have so much good riding around here that we could just stay here and have a badass summer.
That's true. There's like the best riding you can find here.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of everything.
Yeah, we got lakes, we got the mountains. If you go west, we got the salt flats.
Sick canyon runs,
Yeah.
there's everything.
Go south, you got warm weather all year. You know, it's a good spot for sure.
Tell me about the Junction City Chopper Show. When did you throw that last? 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, it was like the Junction City Chopper Show. The last one we did was like 2 years ago. The first one was, I think, 2 years before that. And we did the first one at a bar downtown Ogden. And it was sick. It was super fun. All the friends came out. It was a lot bigger than we thought it was going to be for the first year. So we ended up doing the second one here at the shop. And we were able to, I think we had like 800 or 900 people come throughout the whole show. Gave a bike away, had a Kickstart competition. Just
pretty good.
Typical chopper show stuff. I was sweating pretty good.
Okay.
So it was like a one-man wet t-shirt contest.
Yeah, that works out well.
Yeah.
Are you gonna do it again?
I think so. We have some stuff in the works, and just trying to figure out where the best place to do it is.
Yeah.
You can find whatever I'm doing on Instagram under OG Coda, and my YouTube is Cody's Chopper Corner. So I try to update that when I can with like tricks and tips and whatever little projects I'm doing, different rides.